Hello, Feel Good Friends on Facebook. How are you doing this week? My name is Sanjana. I'm the owner and founder of Feel Good Treatments, and I'm a holistic therapist who helps teenagers and adults with anxiety to say goodbye to their anxiety and say hello to happiness. So thank you first of all to those of you who've completed the anxiety quiz. I hope you like your ebook. I'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to email me or drop me a DM. That would be great. I'm always looking for ways to improve my offerings, so any feedback you give me would be most appreciated. If you haven't completed the quiz and you would like to and you don't really know what I'm talking about, you need to watch the last video from last week, A for Anxiety. And the link is in the comments there. In a nutshell, it's basically a short quiz for you to assess your own levels of anxiety. So today I'm here to talk about B for boundaries, and this is something I come across quite a lot in my work, that clients often have poor boundaries within their families or with their friends or within their relationships. And so I really wanted to talk about it, and it's something that I've also experienced at not being very good at when I was much younger. So I thought I'd start by talking about what is a boundary. And a boundary can be physical, emotional, or mental. And it's having the knowledge that you have the resources within yourself to say yes or no to a request being made of you by somebody else. So an example, for example, would be if someone is asking you to go out for the evening, and yet you know that emotionally you're really exhausted and you really don't want to, but you still go out. That's an example of a weak boundary, because you have not honored what your own needs are. Another way of knowing what your boundary is do you have the courage to say yes or no to the request that's being made of you? When it's someone we love making a request of us and we really don't want to let them down, sometimes we do say yes to a request that we know is going to either leave us time poor or emotionally exhausted or just scrabbling to do the things that we need to do. That's a really good example of a poor boundary. So if you have good boundaries, then you are able to put your point across without feeling defensive or without feeling that you are going to get pushback. In other words, someone's not going to get defensive with you and go on the attack towards you. So an example of that would be if it's a mental boundary, it's about feeling that you have the courage and the ability to give your point of view, to express your opinion without worrying that you're going to be shouted down or dismissed or made to feel small. An emotional boundary would be where you're able to distinguish your emotions from someone else's. Quite often, when you are a very kind person, you can tend to over empathize with somebody and their situation. And when you do that, that's when your boundaries become weaker, because you are unable to distinguish between your emotional set point and their emotional set point. And so you need to learn, and to have good boundaries emotionally, you need to make sure that you're able to distinguish between theirs and yours. And then of course there's physical touch. We all know somebody who stands that bit too close to you and you take a step back and they follow you, and that's a poor physical boundary. And so for them, quite often it's easy to kind of say to them, oh, I've just got to move away, and you move away, or you put an object between you like a chair or a table, and that can create a bit of physical space. If you feel unable to do those, say I need a bit more space, or I need a bit more emotional, I need you not to be so kind of aggressive towards me when I put my point of view across, that's probably symptomatic of a poor boundary. So how do you create new boundaries? Well, first of all, you need to identify when you have a poor boundary. So one of them would be when you feel taken advantage of constantly, where you feel that you are giving and giving and giving and no one is reciprocating. Another example is where you're constantly saving people from all sorts of different situations because they seem to always be embroiled in some kind of drama, and you have a lot of drama around you, so you may not be experiencing the drama yourself directly, but you will be experiencing it around you and you feel a need to go and rescue somebody. And then finally, another one would be how can you, I'm looking at my notes, sorry, when I look away, there was quite a lot to cover in this, and I had to make some quite detailed notes just so I'd remember all of it. So how would you feel if you said to somebody, I don't really want to get involved in your drama? That could be quite a scary thought for you, and that is also a sign potentially of a weak boundary. So how do we go about creating good boundaries? Well, the first thing is kind of understanding and accepting and prioritizing that your needs are as important as anyone else's. You are as important as everyone else in your life, and that's the thing you need to remember. And I'm going to say it again, you are as important as everyone else in your life. Their needs do not supersede yours, and if you do not look after yourself, you are unable to help them in the future. So one of the things you need to get good at understanding is when someone makes a request of you, do you have the resilience within you? So do you have the capability within you to give them the support they need so that you are no longer depleted? If the answer is no, then you need to say to them, I'd really like to help, but I don't think I'm the right person in this instance. Now, they may not like that, and they may be your go-to person for when they need rescuing or they need that drama, and you're not playing along with that game anymore because you've decided to put in place your own boundaries. And they might get quite cross with you, and it's really typical when you start setting boundaries for the people around you who normally you rescue, for them to get cross with you, to go on the attack and say you're not a good friend or a good family member, you're not helping me, why are you leaving me to flounder, and all those kind of things. And yet actually you are doing them a favor, because one of the things about having good boundaries is you need to know how to rescue yourself. It's not your job to be someone else's knight in shining armor. Your job is to be the best version of yourself and show up in that way. And when you have good boundaries, you can do that. Another way of learning and establishing good boundaries is understanding that your values, what your values are to you and how important they are to you. When we do not respect our own boundaries and we push ourselves to help other people to the detriment of ourselves, we send out a message to people we know, energetically speaking, that I'm not worthy, that I am not worthy of respect, I'm not worth the things I'm interested in, my values, they're not worthy of respect. And so you need to kind of know really clearly what are your values. So for example, in my job, one of the ways sometimes clients can try and see if my boundaries are firm is when they contact me. So when someone starts working with me, I let them know in writing and in person that I'm available to them 7 days a week between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. by WhatsApp and text. And if I'll read their text or WhatsApp if they send it to me after 10, but I may not reply unless it's really urgent. And the only other time I'm really unavailable when someone works with me is when I go on holiday. And sometimes I will have clients who will push the envelope a little bit on that one. And historically, I would have replied. Now I just send them a message going, I've read your message, I'll be in touch upon my return on such and such date. The exception would be if I thought it was really urgent, and because I know their case history, I'll know whether it's urgent or not. Now, why do I do that? Because when I'm on holiday, it's my family time. When I'm on holiday, it's my recovery time. When I'm on holiday, it's my time to recharge and to get re-inspired so that I can help my clients in the best way possible. If I'm not maintaining my boundaries and I'm not giving myself that downtime, for example, when I'm away, then that becomes a problem, because I'm not maintaining my boundaries. So how can I be authentic and true to my clients when I talk to them about maintaining your boundaries? So you need to know what your values are. You need to know that you are worthy. Your values, who you are, is absolutely perfect in this moment, and that by standing your ground and maintaining your boundaries, you're enabling and empowering the people around you to help themselves. Now, quite often, I'll be honest, quite often when you start standing your ground, people flounce off. They'll have a huff and they won't talk to you for a little while, and they'll be really cross about it. And some people will never come back. But to be honest, do you really want that person to come back into your life if they cannot respect your boundaries and who you are? But a lot of people will come back to you, and you'll notice small, subtle shifts in your relationships. You'll notice that they, instead of demanding your time or commanding you to do something, they're much kinder and they're much more respectful. And they'll say things like, do you have the time? Or will you be available? Or can you help me? Which is what you want, because then it's a much more equal friendship or partnership or relationship. And this applies in the workplace as much as it does in your personal life. You know, there's nothing worse than having people who you feel are not pulling their weight within your team at work, because you feel really disgruntled by it. And if your bosses still continue to heap praise on everybody, including that team member who's not pulling their weight, that feels really unfair to you, because you're doing your best and you're being ethical and honest and authentic, and then they're not pulling their weight. So, you know, boundaries work in all areas of your life. So I want you just to think about the benefits as well for maintaining your boundaries. You know, when we don't maintain them, as I've said, there's a lot of drama that we get sucked into. So if you're not sucked into that drama, what does that mean for you? Well, it means that you have more energy to apply to things that you want to do. You have more time to enjoy your self-care routine. Your self-care routine are the things that help lift your spirits, that help re-energize you, that help to give you inspiration and help to make you feel good, and you deserve that. Not having or rather having strong boundaries will also help you to explore new avenues of interest, which allow you to meet new friends and new people and have better conversations. And so the thing about strong boundaries is that it helps to enhance the overall quality of your life. And I say this to every client: you are worth that. You are worth living your best life. There is no reason why you should not be living a life filled with laughter and joy and ease and flow and fun and inspiration, that's filled with good relationships where you are supportive of each other and respectful of each other's boundaries and very loving. And that's your birthright. That should be something that you hold really true to. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to achieve, and I'm not saying it's an overnight thing. As with most things that I talk about, it's a process. And so the first thing you need to decide is that you want to set boundaries within your relationships. And then you need to decide, where is your line in the sand? What is it that will take you too far? So is it that if you've not had enough sleep, and then someone says to you, you know, oh, can you come and do this airport run with me, or can you come and do another job with me, that you say, actually, no, if that happens to me, I'm going to say, no, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to get the rest I need? Or is it that you're going to say, yes, okay, fine, blow it, doesn't matter about my sleep? That's your decision to make. Where is your line in the sand? Where is your boundary? And once you've decided those two things, you can, then the work is about sticking to that boundary. Now, there will be exceptions. There'll be times when it's important or urgent that you don't stick to that boundary, obviously. But in the main, there will be very few situations where you have to compromise your boundary. And as you learn not to compromise that boundary, as you learn to respect your own boundaries, you'll notice that your self-worth goes up, your self-respect goes up, and you really begin to understand the benefits of having strong boundaries. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please drop me a line. I loved the comments from the last video. You were all so lovely and sweet to me, which was very reassuring. But I would love any questions. Feel free to DM me or email me at info@feelgoodtreatments.co.uk. I'm happy to respond to those. And if you have any other questions, please do get in contact. So in summary, decide that you're worth having strong boundaries. Decide what your boundaries are, with whom and around what, and then start to practice them. And really believe that you are worth it. You are beyond worthy of having a wonderful, loving, fun-filled life. So that's it from me from today. I'll be back next week, going on to C for conversations, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care now. Bye.